In this video, we're going to explore how to work with dates and times in Node.js applications. Handling dates correctly is crucial for many applications, from scheduling events to recording timestamps. You'll learn about the built-in JavaScript date object, common methods for manipulating dates, formatting, time zone considerations, and popular date libraries that can simplify your work. Let's start with the basics. The JavaScript date object. JavaScript provides a built-in date object for working with dates and times. The date object represents a single moment in time. There are several ways to create a date object. You can create one with the current date and time using newDate, with no arguments. To create a date from a string, you can pass a string representation of the date to the newDate constructor. For example, newDate, December 25, 2023, will create a date object representing December 25, 2023. Alternatively, you can create a date object from a timestamp, which represents the number of milliseconds since January 1, 1970, 00:00:00, Coordinated Universal Time, also known as UTC. For example, newDate 17034624000000 will create a date object from the specified timestamp. Now let's look at some essential methods for working with dates. The getFullYear method returns the year of the date object. The getMonth method returns the month of the date object. Note that months are zero-indexed, meaning January is 0, February is 1, and so on. The getDate method returns the day of the month. The getTime method returns the timestamp, which is the number of milliseconds since January 1, 1970, 00:00:00, UTC. The toISO method returns a string representing the date in ISO format, which is a standard format for representing dates and times. Here are some examples of how to use these methods. First, create a new date object. Then you can get the year using date.getFullYear, which will return 2023. You can get the month using date.getMonth, which will return 11, representing December. Finally, you can format the date to ISO format using date.toISO. The International DateTimeFormat API provides powerful localization features for formatting dates according to different locales and preferences. Here's how you can use it. First, create a new date object. To format the date according to the US locale, use date.toLocaleDateString, ENUS. To format the date according to the European locale, use date.toLocaleDateString, ENGB. You can also use options to customize the formatting. For example, to display the year as numeric, the month as long, and the day as numeric, use date.toLocaleDateString, ENUS, year, numeric, month, long, day, numeric. JavaScript date objects work in the local time zone by default. This can cause issues when dealing with dates across different regions. To handle time zones consistently, use UTC methods. Here's how. First, create a new date object. Then you can use UTC methods like getUTCHours and getUTCDate to get the hours and day of the month in UTC time. To get the time zone offset in minutes, use getTimeZoneOffset. To convert a date to UTC, you can create a new date object using the timestamp and time zone offset. The code shows how to convert the current date to UTC by adjusting for the local time zone offset. To simplify date manipulation, consider using third-party date libraries. Two popular options are Moment.js and Day.js. Moment.js is a legacy library that is still widely used, but it is now in maintenance mode. Day.js is a lightweight, modern alternative to Moment.js with a similar API but a smaller bundle size. Here's an example of how to use Day.js. First, require the Day.js library. To parse and format a date, use Day.js, December 25, 2023. Then you can format the date using date.format, YYYYMMDD. You can also add time to the date using date.add 1 month. To display the relative time, use date.FromNow. The JavaScript date constructor can create invalid dates. It is important to always validate user input and handle edge cases properly. To check if a date is valid, you can use the following function. The isValidDate function checks if the date is an instance of the date object and if the time is not NaN, not a number. To safely parse a date, you can use the following function. The parseDate function creates a new date object and checks if it is a valid date. If the date is not valid, it throws an error. Let's review some best practices and common pitfalls to avoid when working with dates in JavaScript. Be aware that the month indexing starts from 0 to 11. Avoid making assumptions about time zones. Do not mutate date objects directly. Always create new instances to avoid unexpected side effects. Be cautious when parsing ambiguous formats. Always validate user input to prevent errors. Always use ISO format. Create new instances of date objects when performing operations. Use UTC for consistency. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit CodeLucky.com for more such useful content.